Hello, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Edonu, and today we'll be looking at civic engagement. And I'm being joined by a panel of distinguished ladies and gentlemen, whom I'm going to give an opportunity to introduce themselves as we unpack today's topic. I will start with the gentleman right on my left, who is going to, sir, your name.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Hello, everyone, dear viewers of this show. My name is Junior Victor Akansasura. I am the CEO for Nurture African Youth Network and a global schools mentor on SDGs in East Africa.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Edonu, and to everyone who is watching today's show. My name is Belinda Amanya. I am the Speaker of the East African Youth Parliament and also the Vice Chairperson of the European Union Youth Sounding Board. I am honored to be part of this lovely discussion today. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. My name is Derek Baraza. I am a young people activist. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. My name is Jeffy Oksima, and I'm the team leader of High Hope Uganda. Over to you, Emmanuel.
Right. Thank you so much, the beautiful ladies and the handsome gentlemen in the house today. So today we'll be looking at a topical discussion that will be tackling enhancing the civic participation of young people, the youth, in the democratic process. And our objective is to understand what are some of the barriers that is hindering the civic participation of young people and what solutions can we foster. So to begin with, I would love to pose a question to the lady at the extreme end. She could please tell us what she thinks is the problem that is preventing the young people from taking part in the democratic process in this country. Yes, Ms. Jovia.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And to that point, in my community, there is fear of criticism among the youths where I come from. So this comes with some leaders that we have seen, whereby they tend to threaten. Lately, I think last year, we had an incident whereby Kadiri, the late, died, and his son had to stand in to be the LC5. Because of a lot of criticism among the people of Hoima or the Banyoro, they started saying, how can that young boy or the son to the late come in to take over the 2 years that have remained for the late? So that incident happened, but later on we had to win. Us who were on the side of the young boy, and the criticism came in whereby other leaders that I will not mention names here, they started threatening him with phone calls, radios. It went ahead that they started even killing his supporters. So me in my community where I come from, there is a lot of criticism, which has led to fear of the youth coming up and they be like, I want to be a leader. Not even an LC1 person, they're always in their 40s, 50s, but someone between 20 to 40 or 20 to 39, that person is always denied the chance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Jovia, for that insightful deliberation that you've given to us. Mr. Barasa, you seem to understand the governance structure of this country. I want you to pick out some of the loopholes that you feel have been left in the governance structure of this country that is hindering the enhancement of civic participation for the young people in this country.
So the system at hand is elaborately deficient, if I'm to put it in a certain way. The art of politics in every society is guaranteed by two things. We must have a contestation and a participation. We expect people who are going to stand and people who are going to vote, who are going to submit to these people. However, what we see now, and if you zoom it clearly and analyze it clearly well, you realize that in the ground, we have the suffocation of either one or both at every level. And now, if we talk about young people engaging in all these things, let's say a young person wants to stand, either they are limited by one, financing, or two, just the political force out there. The vicious cycle that is perpetrated by politics in its own embodiment keeps on making politics a very ruthless procedure of society. But that's only one thing. The other part is participation. Every young person wishes to choose their leader. And of course, the huge conundrum that we as a society face today is that young people are left out of politics, either because they don't want to vote, they are too lazy, or two, even if they try, their vote won't really count. I mean, there's a popular statement that bad leaders are elected by people who don't vote, good people that don't vote. I think you've heard that statement before. And the youths form 70% of society, and I think about just a very little percentage actually engage in these electoral processes. So you get to see that 70% of the people, the bulwark of society, do not participate in the electoral process. So at the end of the day, we come back and we continue lamenting about the social issues that are prevalent in society, about the drugs in hospitals, about the roads, about whatever things you get. So as a society, we are failing, and we are failing at all structures. But one quick fix that we can talk about is attending to the 70%. If you can get 70% of the people on board, then I think that's actually a credit in its own self. As long as young people are not understood, they are not met at their convenience, as long as you keep having internet shutdowns, as long as you keep having incarcerations, detentions, all these people that young people are limited in their scope of action, we cannot change society as young people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barasa. You make me think about the disillusion and apathy in the voting process, but nonetheless, that's why I have the able people on this panel to help maybe understand the perspective on how we can get the young people out there to participate in civic engagement. Now, over to you, Ms. Belinda. We live in a digital era, and I'm quite sure you have a huge following on your social handles. I want to pick your thoughts on how we can leverage on technology and social media and increase youth participation in civic engagement at this level.
If we are to analyze Uganda currently on civic engagement and also on a basis of digitalization, I must say we are quite vibrant when it gets to the digital aspect, especially when we speak to social media. Then the other problem that comes in is everyone on social media. Is everyone onboarded? For example, just a small, simple analysis. If I went to X today, which is also Twitter, and because the handle is having, let's say, who should I use? Let's say the president of Uganda. It is having, this is the handle of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, or the Speaker of Uganda's parliament. You will find many youth who have queries about either the president's decision on this or the speaker's decision will go and tag their X account. At the end of the day, does she have access or direct access to it? Does she manage it herself? No, she doesn't. So who are you addressing? You're perhaps addressing her personal assistant or his personal assistant, who may not probably or will give you a political kind of reply. So at the end of the day, if we talk about digitalization and then youth involvement in civic engagement, then we must be able to not leave youth in a world alone, but also have the other people coming on board, because we cannot exist as youth, but we need to coexist with all the other groups of people that are living. So if you're to look at civic engagement, which in and itself looks at which activities do we engage in, either socially or political, that influence or create a betterment of our society, but pours into our society, then we'd have to recognize that even when we talk of digitalization, and there is still a huge journey to onboard everyone, the decision makers, the entire system. Last time in Kenya, we saw President Ruto coming on board for an X Space. We said, wow, that is beautiful. Can we have them, also get to listen and give us audience there? So in the aspect of digitalization,
I think it is very key because where the world is going, digitalization makes it easier. Because what is the relevance? For example, I'm a student at Bulu University in my fourth year doing law. If I had a concern or a discussion, let's say a next space we are having, it does not necessitate me to come all the way from Gulu, come to Kampala, spend about 8 hours of travel because I need to address a certain issue or I need to be engaged in a certain civic engagement. So with digitalization, it comes with advantages of it making life simple and timeless. But however, if it is still existing or living in a small box without touch of the actual key players in the systems, then as youth we are being frustrated, we are being discriminated and left alone in our own box, thinking that we are actually being civic people and engaging community and our leaders, yet we are engaging dormant accounts that are yet not to help us, yet we have been raised and grown in an era of digitalization, which seems to be an easier way of engaging than the physical ways, which normally takes a time. Because if I was to book an appointment to meet the president, I think it would never come or take years for it to get availed to me. Thank you, I don't know.
Thank you, Ms. Belinda. You seem so passionate about the digital transformation that is taking shape in our country today. Thank you for your deliberation.
Just, I don't know if I can just interject on something.
Mm-hmm.
And what the point that she raises buttresses the earlier points that I was saying. She talked about President Ruto getting onto an express. But we have to look at, yes, it's something that we want, but is it really something that the older generation, the people that are not young people, are willing to do at our own terms? Or they are coming out of, you get the fear, you know? Or it's like what we call a knee-jerk reaction, or, just trying to react to the pressure of not being left out. You get. So we want to see social media actually adopted as a means and not just a compensatory mechanism.
Yeah.
You get something like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your supplement. And I want to bring the microphone close to my brother, a CEO, a mentor at the same time. Enhancing civic participation of the young people in the democratic process is an essential, for informed and engaged leaders. That is something that we can't underlook. So I want you to give me your thoughts on some of the initiatives or innovations that have proven effective in bringing the young people on board to ensure that they take part in the democratic process.
Thank you so much, my brother. And I want to appreciate my fellow panelists. Those of you who did literature and read the book called Betrayal in the City must have met one gentleman, is it Mosese? Who said that when the whole nation disturbs a solitary mind, it's not enough to say that the man is mad. And of course, I want to continue referring it to what my colleagues have been airing on or about, that yes, we are saying we are the majority as young people, but do we really have space? Do we have, are we able to participate in these spaces, these platforms that maybe the government or other organizations have put on board? It is true, like they have said. One, I want to deter the statistics of UBOS, where they say the young people the other young children make 50.2, then us above the age of 18, we are 22.7. Then before the statistics, we were 78. Now they have lowered. Can I assume that young people were dying for all the 10 years? Or somehow they matured? So meaning that, I don't know whether it is intentional, but I want to appreciate that different organizations have brought spaces and platforms for us to speak, for us to have a voice, for us to leverage on and share these ideas, and have, of course, solutions towards the challenges that we are facing. In addition to what they said, challenges are there. Like, for example, I was not happy. I was seriously disenfranchised by our parliament passing the 12% data, yet they know young people want to innovate and do research. So if you are thinking that the government is for the young people, then you create issues to stop them from thinking and innovating, then the government is not for us. Like I normally hear young people say, nothing for us without us. Then when they are making these policies, which percentage of the young people is involved or engaged in decision making before they pass these laws? Just look at five members of parliament. Out of is it 300 something MPs?
529 members of parliament.
I would think we should have even 20 young people representing us in parliament so that our voices can be heard. That's why we discuss things and they stop there in the boardrooms. Well, the other thing that maybe you did not mention or that I want us to think about is young people are very poor. Those that have something maybe are sons of generals, sons of... I heard somebody talk of Gambano, I don't know what it means, but it is true. If your father is not somewhere in government, it is very hard for us to run a project. Very hard. Even if you want to pass some budget somewhere, maybe in Faraja, you want to move a project. The first is a son of who? That's how we have been mentored, that's how we've been groomed, and that's how it is. Now, I would say that as our generation, in the 21st century, we must realize that this is our generation. What do? Mobilize ourselves. I'm happy that different young people are coming up with the X spaces almost. Every weekend you find the phone. When you go to X, you find there is jam. Why? They have realized that this is the way to go. They no longer go to Facebook. There is a lot of... I think they banned it or blocked it. Even when they go to VPN, they find it is very expensive because of what I mentioned. So let's mobilize ourselves. Let's continue mobilizing such platforms. Discuss these issues. Go to the grassroots. Mobilize others that don't know these policies. Interpret them. Some other people that would help us at the village level don't know English. Some other people maybe who would be able to help us. They are somewhere and they are in Desvas. They don't care about what happens to young people. Initiatives are there, but nothing is taking place. We just stop on creation establishments, and that's the bureaucracy that we are going through.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Belinda, I want to speak on, I want you to give me your thoughts on the marginalized group of people. And how can we create an atmosphere that is inclusive and very accessible for them? Because whenever we talk about youth participation, there's a particular group of people that we always leave out, and that is the marginalized group of people. And also, of course, your gender. Yeah, that has picked up lately. It has been so robust and aggressive. As you can see, I have two on this panel. What are your thoughts on having them included in the democratic process?
Well, I do think marginalization starts from trying to look for that middle point or the exact starting point. But by virtue of even being called a youth in and itself in this nation, becomes a point of marginalization. Recently, I think it was yesterday, and one of our leaders in parliament is saying we need to have a law enacted for, I think, for youth to, I think, learn or to be able to respect elders. And at that point, we are saying, okay, if there is need, if there is a problem of decorum, and the youth as youth have so many problems, but what needs to be enacted as law is one pertaining a point of respect for elders. Yet, on the list of the problems youth have in this nation, I think that should rank like list or not even appear. Perhaps go to the churches, go to community and family, but we don't see why what should be discussed on the floor of parliament is this being enacted into law. So you get to realize from that corner, it gives off, as Gen Zs normally say, it's giving. But allow me say, it's giving marginalization from point one. And therefore, sometimes marginalization comes from the whole concept of they are youth, which sometimes speaks to they do not understand they're incapacitated, because it talks about the financial aspects, maybe knowledge gap and all of those things. And then when they say you're maybe not well versed and knowledgeable, we say, okay, we live in a generation where as youth we have called out and sought mentorship. That is why when you hear Twitter space, and I don't know, you tell us you're having a Twitter space, and you say, let's say, I brought this person. Many youth will flood that Twitter space. One, we are hunting and searching for mentorship. Look at conferences. You will find us flooding there. Some activities that government actually normally puts out, sometimes we realize we have been invited, perhaps just to tick boxes. They say youth, and then they say the youth are seated here, but at the end of the day, your views are not heard. You don't have even a representative on the panel, but then they tell you youth inclusion, which still now speaks marginalization. But then we say, for the good of being mentored, we shall be there. So when we, going back to the question that you asked, when we look at marginalization, who are the marginalized groups? Think we, the youth as a whole bracket, are marginalized. He gave a good breakdown of what really happened. He said about 50.2 and below, are 17 and below. And then we're having about 22.7 who are ranging from 18 to 30. When you dig deeper to dissect between the 22.7, you realize we are left with very few who are now trying to take part or be actively engaged in civic kind of like engagements and activities. And so with that small number at the end of the day, who are actually on the front line of saying we need youth inclusion, because they understand the mandate they have to represent the 50.2 and be able to onboard them on such matters once they clock that age or that section of the 22.7 perhaps. And therefore you find from the aspect of even these few that are being active and not being given entry points or given that reception, it becomes hard and we still remain marginalized. We go to the issue of the females. There's always been a cry, oh, the females are being left out, this and that, they're not actively engaged. Well, sometimes the stereotypes of society, at the end of the day, we've had threats like, you women that are like this, because, well, we come from a society and community will always tie women to marriage and, the whole part of submission, which is totally a good concept that we agree with, but then to a point of when you become too much of outspoken and all of those things, you become now less attractive in this aspect. So therefore, because you want, so some stereotypes still exist in society that are still holding certain ground. But then can we also project the positive? We have had ladies come up. I am a lady. She is a lady. There have been so many ladies that have come up. We've seen the Liliana Dekes. We've seen the Nyamtoras. We've seen so many. Can we spotlight them to inspire more girls and let them know it is a friendly space? There's still more issues of, let's say, sexual harassment, especially in the political space. Many girls will tell you, this is a fact on ground. We do not want to engage this one. We do not have money. The only way to go through, these men want to use us to be able to support us to get into the system. So until we address such moral issues, perhaps if they said, some of these people need to be taught how to, probably a law to teach a certain category of people to respect themselves and also respect young ladies that need to get into these spaces, then perhaps we would support that law instead of the former ones that are earlier connoted too. And then from that point, that is marginalization. We still go to the boy child. When you look at the political economy currently, it is highly monetized. And in such a world, how are we supposed to coexist with the category he looked at as there's those kids that already have a stepping stone, they already have a brick to their life. There's someone starting at zero, but there is someone who is maybe supported because of natural factors, like you're born in a certain family and therefore it's a bit more easier for you to, spring out and grow and get the spectrum and the whole light as I conclude. And so you find there's now a group of a certain boy child somewhere who's trying to emerge as a young leader. You're starting through these small youth leadership spaces, but still even there is an invisible hand still oppressing some of them. And therefore, it speaks marginalization each and everywhere. And then finally, with the young ones that are in this other category, some of them are still in school. Even when they try to come out, there is a knowledge gap. So with lack of access to all of this, to the information that we're supposed to be getting to support us to fit into the system of engaging as good citizens of this country and support the development of this country, that is all marginalization. And the only way to break it down is if we are able to be inclusive, not just inclusive, but meaningful inclusion and participation, and also the breakdown of the huge knowledge gap that is existing in the status quo that we live in. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, amazing. Thank you, Miss Belinda. You want to say something? In 30 seconds, please.
Thank you so much, Belinda, and I'm really impressed by your results. But also to add on, just like I told you that there is a problem with culture. Just like I said that young boy who came to complete the 2 terms of the late father, you people, let me tell you something. Our parents used to be like, how can that 29-year-old boy stand in for us? What is he going to present? What is he going to talk about? But for sure, to me, yes, as youth advocates, but I also look at the government. I think the government needs to educate the people from the villages, especially those ones who are not educated. They have a mindset that someone who is young cannot rule them. Someone who is young cannot bring out good results. Thank you.
All right. So I love the fact that ladies are speaking out, and I pick it up from you. I pick it. Yeah, my female youth. I pick it up from you. You say that there is a lot of undermining and underlooking, and Miss Belinda is telling us that there is some sort of bias in society and gender stereotype trying to always hinder the progress of a particular group of people. And we are saying, all in all, she says that the youth are marginalized. Yeah, there is knowledge gap here and there, and above all, there's commercialization of politics. Now, to you, Mr. Derek. Mr. Barasa, Derek. My question is very simple to you. Is it the right time for the young people to take part in the democratic process? If yes, that's why your statement.
Well, it's not as easy as saying yes. Let's have some little insight into this. How do elections come about? And so the origin of society, and particularly constitutionalism and all this political suffrage that we see today, whether in politics or in the church or in businesses, started from somewhere. So at one point, the Greeks, the Romans came up and established society through small enclaves, what they call the polis. Yeah, and just that's where I want to stop there. We have Aristotle, Plato, Socrates coming under a tree and sitting down and saying we're going to have society. And those are the Greeks. Yeah? And then they come up with a set of rules to govern the society.
Yes.
Now, what is the underlying? What's the denominator there? I mean, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and perhaps maybe someone else. All these are octogenarians, septuagenarians. How do you call people above quintu, above 50? So you get to see that even from ancient history, young people were not part of the conversation. You get? So it comes forward until we see the Magna Carta, we see all this Enlightenment, the Bill of Rights, the French Revolution, all these things. And fast forward, we are in 2008, 2009, and we are seeing Barack Obama. How old was he? 48, I think, at the time, getting into power. And there's a certain kind of new freshness that we feel. We feel like, let's try out this young man and see how it goes. Because at the backdrop of that, America was struggling with the depression. There was a Great Depression around that period. So Obama comes into force and he turns around the country within a short time. Well, okay, his age was not really so young, but at least compared with the predecessors, he was fair. And today we get to see Emmanuel Macron abroad, president of France. We just saw a president of New Zealand, the one that got pregnant in office.
Yeah.
The fact that she got pregnant means she's below menopause, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We get to see all these people, young people that are taking part in politics. However, there is a catch. In 1929, there was a president of the US called Coolidge. I am forgetting the other name. I think Edward Coolidge, President Edward Coolidge. He was a very handsome man, a very young, fairly from Hollywood, as you can imagine, young person. And America had the same issues that they faced in 2008, 2009. So the general consensus was that let's get a young person into office. It has been tried for. Do you know what happened? That was 1928, I think. What was happening in 1928? Okay, whatever was happening. The world was a good place. The world that discovered penicillin as a drug, Alexander Fleming, and all those things. The world was going forward. We give chance to a young person. You know what happened? A Great Depression happened in the hands of a young person. You get it? So there's two sides to it. That's why I didn't want to say yes. You see, the young people conversation is bigger than we just see it. It is not a rhetorical exchange of ideas about I am young, you are old, therefore I am deserving of this. That kind of self-righteous indignation, that feeling that we deserve to do this because I have a numerical data assigned to me that is below 30, that I can lead this country better. It does not exist. And that is why people like me are going to squash that conversation that young people are entitled. I actually don't think so. I think young people should be brought closer in the conversation. You get? And I want to say this clearly because I think I just had an exchange with Belinda before here that the greatest leaders ever in the world, be it Maria Theresa, be it Mahatma Gandhi, today we see, Nelson Mandela, and I remember I said Nelson Mandela even tried power, but it could not last more than a term. The greatest leaders that changed the world were never really political, were never really electoral, they had a position where they sat. Malala Yousafzai today, she just won at 17, she won a Nobel Peace Prize, changing the world and all these things. But that's not enough, because if all of us go into that thinking, saying that we are getting rid of the politics, we lose it. The political arena is a safe space for exchange of ideas. We need the old and the young, and none with the exclusion of others. If, for example, my opinion is this, Ugandan parliament has 529 people, 529 members of parliament. Of course, there are other people, ex-officials that sit in the house. And of course, the argument is there is actually a lot of young people there. Because, yes, it's true. Actually, shockingly, the irony is that parliament actually has a lot of young people. Yeah, you can proof check that. You get young people in the sense of below 40. Yeah, you get. I don't want to use the UN definition of young people. You get. So there are a lot of young people sitting in parliament. What really comes out of it is what people are rebuking. Is why people want to march to parliament. Is why people want to do all these things. If we can have a house that is filling with young people, let's get old people there. Now, go and look at the executive. I want to show you the kind of disparity that Uganda gets itself in, especially when you talk about the demographic question. Go and look at a cabinet sitting. Uganda now has 82 cabinet ministers. 82, I think. And out of that, how many are young people? Very few. Their number. Few. Young people in the sense. You get. Well, we understand cabinet is more of a technocrat position. Yeah, we need people who are studied and what. But you do not want to leave people behind. It is about getting all people on board. So where is the space of young people in this conversation in cabinet? And the same question I'll ask, where is the space for old people in parliament? So young people are necessarily on the table. But however, like I said in my earlier submission, it's not just about contestation. I mean, and I'll keep on nailing this. Bad leaders are elected by good people that don't take part of the process. Young people that are left out of this process. The issue at hand is not actually that young people are not entering parliament. The issue is that they're not voting. They're not, because anyway, biology and ideology does not deter the fact that I can have a right to choose as an 80-year-old as president of the country, as long as I feel that is deserving. But how do I enforce that decision under my constitutional mandate? Am I suffocated? Do I have my safe space to air this concern out and say that after 5 years, I'm going to go back to the ballot the way those people in the US, the Coolidge way, went there and voted for a young person one, or the way the people of 1934, went and voted for an old man, FDR, and got him. You see, that's the huge question in Uganda. So it's not about young people, old people. Let's have the intergenerational discussion. And this is a conversation to Ministry of Gender, whoever sits there, all this. We need to have an intergenerational conversation. As young people, let me tell you, we can burn down this country if you give young people this country. And I'm saying this as a pro young people person. I'm saying this.
Don't trust yourself.
No. I'm saying this as we actually, it is better to err on the side of caution.
Yes.
Than to just go all out and make mistakes.
So you think if we got a young president, Uganda would be in a mess?
Not yes and no, because it can't
You
be.
can never be hot or cold.
Uganda would be in a mess if
There's a clause.
the power, the systems are working. If at all you have people that understand the work and they're really doing these things, and you don't have the Coolidge era, a system built on hope, because that's actually what I see today is what is happening on the streets. That people are going to elect someone out of hope, the audacity of hope. That if we get this guy in power, he's young like me, he's going to resonate like me, and when they go there, they're going to vote like you indeed. You get?
I think my brother is on the other point right, but according to what I've gone through through the leadership stages and basing on what I learned, different systems, maybe South Korea, maybe the Asian tiger countries, there is always what we call system.
Yes.
The countries that are peaceful, the countries that are really moving forward, have clear systems. But I also disagree with his point I disagree with his point that young people, when they are given the conch, things will turn upside down. Because I want to refer to the time. I wrote an article. This Mr. David Mafari, the senior presidential advisor, was saying that biology is not ideology. And his point was that the young people want to rush into, I think he was trying to hit some side of some force.
Yes.
And I wrote an article and I received some threats, but I was clear. I referred them to a few governments of Sudan, the government. I even referred them to the time when the government of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni came to power.
Yes.
How old were they? When they were mobilizing the Kadogos, they were the ones leading us. They were too young, but with the ideology, with the brain. So,
Oh yes, they were not.
Let's proceed.
but they mobilized the Kadogos to support them. So, okay, when they came back, is the country stable? How old is it now? So now, there is the other point I want to conclude. There is what we call negation of the negation. We need the old in the system to guide us, to nurture us, so that when we are taking over, there is that what we call longevity of systems taking over from the experience, but they are also there to mentor us. We're not saying let's jump into the what? Into the government. That's where we shall end up going wrong, and we end up in messes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Barasha.
Was the protection of my point.
Barasha, I'll give you time. I'll give you a chance. Don't worry. No.
My point is actually
I'll
getting
get
lost.
back to you,
No,
Barasha.
let me just get this. You see the issue. The issue with people like Junior is that they are a self-possessed. There's a certain kind of youthful demon that catches a young person when they see old people in office. What I'm saying is this: young people deserve that space. We deserve to get there. But the bigger concern is not young people. It is nations. It is our nation. It is what we are doing for the people. This kind of Mary and coward feeling that we deserve this. We are going to parliament today. We are going to ban it like we saw in Kenya. That we are going to approach the airports. We are going to do what is what we are running away from. And that's why I was talking about the mix match, the intergenerational talk. And that is the only. And by the way, let me tell you, it is a give and take, carrot and stick. If young people want to get into power, don't think you're going to enter just and kick out whoever is there. We have to continuously, because today you are young, tomorrow you're old, and your knowledge is not ending with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barasha. Yeah, it's getting hot, and I have to take charge. I agree with you that it shouldn't be the aspect of self-entitlement, but bringing the young people closer to the conversation, which is true. And we have seen this happen in Senegal. We are seeing Senegal having a president who is 44 years of age, and we see him appoint a prime minister who is slightly older. You understand all that? Yeah. Don't worry. But you see, the issue here from the whole conversation that I'm getting is that you are advocating for bridging the gap. We have to coexist, with the generational gap, which I honestly agree with you. Yes, thank you for your deliberation, sir. So I want to pose a question to Miss Jovia. Then I come back to Junior, and we'll give our parting shots. What is the relevance of voter education ahead of these upcoming elections?
The relevance that I see here, it's on the side of the youth that have managed to enter the leadership journey, whereby we have been given opportunity to stand up for ourselves. However much we do not win, in most cases, youth do not win, unless when your pocket is clean, I can say money. So here, for us youths to come up and engage into the politics or the coming elections, even though I do not win, just like the way Charles said, our president of the NYC, he said that even when you do not win, but what experience have you gained from it? I may not have won, but there's something that I've learned from my opponent, Belinda. There's something that I've taken on from my opponent, Junior. And for sure, these experiences come with a lot of gaining of knowledge. I may not have won today, but in the 5 next years or 5 coming years, I'm sure by the time Belinda comes back and I also come back, I have laid my foundation very well. What are those strategies Belinda used to get where I want to be? Yeah.
Thank you. I still want to pose one question to you. Do you believe in the commercialization of politics?
No.
It was a cautious no.
Well,
I want to come back to my mentor here. You allow me call him my mentor today, and a CEO. Yeah. So I want you to give me just your thoughts on the increased public awareness. Realize that right now as we talk on this panel, we are informed and aware about what is coming up next. And not only us, we have seen very many civic organizations come up, and young people, the Electoral Commission is doing its part, and the young people are getting actively engaged in the upcoming electoral process. Not all of us have access to this information, and that is something that is a big hindrance to getting information regarding the whole electoral process. What do you think needs to be done to ensure that this information reaches up to the grassroots? Because I have people from Kunjiri, yeah, we have people from Soroti, we have people from Kalaki, we have people from Karamoja. Yes, we need information to reach to them, and we need these young people to actively participate in elections. What do you think needs to be done?
I'll begin with a question to you. It's a rhetorical question.
I understand.
I will first ask you how many digital platforms are you on, and how many spaces have you engaged in for the last month, and how many young people do you influence in those spaces? Okay, which content do you share? Altogether.
Yes.
So after understanding what we share or what we consume, then we shall answer the question of whether the public is aware of what we're talking about or not. Like I said, we need to do a lot of advocacy, especially us who have been blessed to maybe have got some information about this, right? It is the right time. Like Martin Luther King said, time is always right to do what is right.
That is right.
So meaning that the fact that we have been blessed to have such platforms, let's hold them and use them to also deliver and reach out to those that have not got these chances. Like, for example, I may use myself as an example. I started a platform, just a network, as Build Youth Build Africa. But when I came back to Uganda from Egypt to register it, URSB refused it. So when I asked some other colleagues that I had met elsewhere, they said, no, you let this be Nacha African Youth Day. Then it was accepted. So that's how I started coordinating different CEOs, different influencers from different African countries. And I've made it a point. Whatever you're sharing must not be this political magma of stupidity that we normally have here. There should be something educating for consumption and that is transforming young people from any other country. But as for Uganda, this is the time to wake up. We have so many young people out there. They don't know these things. I swear. They don't know what civic education is. They don't know, they don't know what it takes for one to contest for maybe youth parliamentarian, or even NYC. Most students, when the time I spent in UNSA coordinating Kiruhura, I found Kiruhura had died completely. Until I went, mobilized ASHU, her teachers. Did you get the point?
Yes.
Then young people, they said, hey, there is also UNSA. It's also for students. You get the point?
I get the
How do you mobilize? Which opportunity have you grabbed, and how using it to bring other people on board? I think the most important thing is accessing great information and they're sharing great information. But information is there, but accessing it is the problem.
Thank you so much. Ms. Jovia, you have give you 1 minute, and we're all going to take 1 minute as we give our parting shots.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I wanted to add on the point of Junior about advocacy. As advocates, it's high time, however much we are on platforms, there are those deep villages whereby our youths cannot even afford radios. They cannot even read a newspaper. They cannot, even when you give them a poster, when it is in English, they cannot. Even when you give them a translated, for example, me, I'm Mnyoro, and if I bring out a poster in Runyoro, someone can still not read until you speak to them. Maybe you need to have agents who are really going to help you. So in advocacy, we really need to do more research in such communities. You need to get research assistants, and you be like, he or she will help you to tick where those people need help. So that by the time you go and you take Belinda or Junior or Derek to say something or to put the point out, they know. Belinda knows where she's going to start from. Derek knows what to say and to which audience is he addressing to. Because if there is an old woman in Chitoba district and she cannot believe that an old person can convince her, there are those old people whereby a young person can really convince them. Yeah. Thank you.
Your parting shots?
Well, that will come in later.
All right, Parasha, give us your parting shots.
Thank you so much for this space. Great honor. Thank you to Faraja. Thank you to everyone here, my fellow panelists. This is what I have to say. Young people have created change before. I don't want to sit here with disillusionment and frustration. When we talk about the Tahrir Square, when we talk about young Gaddafi, when we talk about young Museveni, when we talk about Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, all these people, when we talk about the Gen Zs in Kenya and those that are trying to be like Gen Z all over the world,
Ugandans.
I don't want to say that.
Yeah, Ugandans.
I won't say that.
Okay, it is well.
It's not. Okay. So when we see all these people, all these voices rallying for change, we can see that there is an opportunity. There's that small space left. There's that small existing hive for democracy that young people can believe and create change. And like those people that came before us have done, I realize it's also our turn to do that. The elections will come, go. We can either participate in them or wait for what will happen after. Do you want to wail after the elections? Or you want to be part of it and actually bring your leaders to account? Well, they will come, they'll promise you all these things here, there. Hold them to account. That's the biggest issue. The leaders will keep on fooling you because they think you don't know. The leaders will keep on fooling you because they think, after all, you cannot stand. Leaders will keep on fooling you because they know you can be patient with them for 5 years. So let's get up, let's roll up our sleeves and build a working consensus. Let's get together and understand that if you do not lay your brick today, like George Washington or Benjamin Franklin did, there will be no Uganda, no future Africa or whatever. And this whole perception that politics is a preserve for the few is actually what is killing us. Because what the other people, the other side here, is that politics is for self-preservation. Thank you so much.
Well, my parting shot, I will start by saying leadership is a calling. And after saying that leadership is a calling, I would still like to define leadership. Leadership to me is as plain as influencing a group of people and helping them into a transition of a positive change. We're getting into a critical season as a nation, as a country. There have been so many write-ups in various sectors. Recently, I read something on investment, and one of the worries were election season coming up in Uganda, and how it gets dirty and bad. But I'd like to call us all that with the same energy we put out there in concerns. For example, we had a season of the fighting for women's rights coming up, and every organization, every individual, every energy, every budget, every fund, every coin was directed to girl child. Yeah. We are now in a season of climate, everything climate. Everyone wants to aspire to be a climate change activist. Some because they're passionate about it, others because what controls the world, which is economical and money, has been directed to that field, so everyone gets interest to go there. How about we direct the same energy, the same concentration, the same urgency, the same vibrancy, and pull it out for civic engagement? Every youth organization, we have been asking, how will the people down there get to know? The same way a girl child down there got to know about how to make a reusable sanitary towel, or got access to a sanitary towel, or there are people coming to inspect the borehole there and trying to clean it. should be the same way we all show up for each other as a nation, as young people, as old people, as concerned citizens. Those with the knowledge, can each one teach another? Can we carry this information, take it to the grassroots, the same way you would go to preach information on those pertinent issues like gender rights and also those on climate. So can we be, I don't know which real word to use, can we be disciples of change, disciples of the gospel of good governance, of a world that has better civic engagement, and support each Ugandan do the right thing, embrace their right, know their right, and exercise it ahead of the 2026 elections. Thank you very much. It's been an honor being on this panel. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Miss Belinda. Yes, over to you, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. I want to say that the Uganda's problem is not that is not our leaders, but is the mindset that we have consumed from our seniors. We those of us who, in fact, most of the young people think that MPs are voted so that they can collect money and then bring to support them in their villages. And that is why when MPs or our leaders go to those offices, they start now looking for where they can steal to come and do what? And buy us. So I think this platform should enable us go and teach our communities the role of a leader, especially our MPs, altogether. Number two, those of you who believe in one of the Ugandan writers, Julius Ochino, you might understand what it means to do with the fate of the banished. What is your fate? Are you destined to serve, or you are destined, or your fate is to keep begging and vote, but for you not voted unto? So my last take is the future is for the organized. Simple. It's for the organized. Prepare yourself, organize yourself, you move forward.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Well, my say on this is that just like the way James Clear says, 1% of every day leads to success and to 100%. I'm calling upon my fellow youth advocates to do more public awareness. Instead of us running after funds, just like we are running after kites, we need to stop. If your niche is to mentor, do that part or do your niche exist like very well to the extent that when someone has an opportunity for you, you also will be like, I know Emmanuel, let me call him. Don't take away that opportunity. Emmanuel will do this better. But youths are overrunning after the funds. This project has come, they run. Even you forget, you reach an extent of getting lost. You reach an extent of when you ask yourself and you'll be like, where am I heading to? So I think it's high time we discover ourselves and we know, while doing public awareness, what is your niche area? Instead of you saying, me, I fall under gender equality, water and sanitation, good health and well-being, everything. You cannot fall into everything. Otherwise, there is hot porridge, and in that hot porridge, you really burn yourself. So the last thing that I would like to say is that I really thank Faraja Africa Foundation for this space, because it has really polished a lot of youths, and at least we have testimonies outside there when someone says, I started with Faraja and here I am. Thank you so much. Over to you.
All right, I want to thank all our viewers for joining us for this comprehensive civic workshop that we're having on enhancing the civic participation of youth in the democratic process. And unpacking today's topic has been a panel of distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have joined me. And I want to thank Faraja Africa Foundation for the opportunity that they've given to us as we prepare to take part in the democratic process. Until we meet again, have a good evening.